Hey guys, Andy here. When you talk about pixels, or when you talk about the reasons that people buy pixels, it's generally the camera and the software. So I thought let's take a bit of a look at the cameras on the Pixel 5. If we start with the actual hardware, what are the lenses? On the rear we have the main 12.2 megapixel f1.7 27mm, which is regular wide angle lens with dual pixel phase detection, autofocus and optical image stabilisation. Then there's an ultra wide lens which is 16 megapixel f2.2, so not quite as good in the low light. Then on the front is the selfie camera, which is 8 megapixel f2.0, that's 24mm sort of regular wide. The rear camera can do 4K video at 60 frames per second. The front facing camera can do 1080p at 30 frames per second. Also the software on the phone, let's do that before we move on to the actual pictures, because that's actually a bit of a difference from my Pixel 4. There's more options on the screen, there's sort of buttons in the camera app. So for example, the stills has the level of zoom that you can tap. The video has the zoom, stabilisation, type of video, be it slow-mo, normal or time-lapse. Night sight is automatic when you're taking a photo, but there is a button that pops up. Again, you can press that to turn that off if you want. You also get a horizon guide automatically, which is actually really quite useful. I found myself quite a lot of time, I'm about to take a picture and actually I'm about 4 degrees rather than flat. If you look down, you get a cross up here as well to make sure that the camera is pointing directly down. So the photos themselves, the main thing, and I said this in my Pixel 4a review, is just the consistency. I've got over 70 photos that I've taken as samples over the last few days. And I don't think I've had to delete one. They're all just, it's so consistent. They're sharp, the strong colours. The colours are realistic, I think, so they're not oversaturated. There's good detail. I mean, just photo after photo, I think it looks really good. If we look at low light, it's as fantastic as it always is. Night sight, as I say, comes on automatically, and I still think it's the best version of any of the sort of low light photography that smartphones do. I didn't do any astrophotography actually, but that can be done with a tripod. I mean, literally, it needs to be steady for about 3 minutes, but you do get some fantastic results from my previous experience. If we look at the different lenses, the ultra wide, again, they look very good, look consistent. You can see the difference here between the ultra wide, regular, and then the 2x. The 2x is interesting because in the metadata it shows the same focal length as a regular photo, which confused me a little bit. I thought, oh, is it just cropping it? But it's not actually. The pixel count's the same as a regular photo to the 2x. And I think the 2x, they look pretty good actually, and they do look better than just a regular photo cropped. The selfie camera, I mean, the same as the rear facing camera. I think they're sharp, they're strong colours, there's good detail, just some really nice photos, and just consistently nice. The portrait mode is reasonable, but there are some issues around sort of tufts of hair, which I guess in some ways you can't avoid when it's just a one lens taking the portrait. If we move on to video, as with the photos really, just good colour, good detail, realistic colour as well. I find panning is always a difficult one for phones because it's trying to balance between image stabilisation and panning. How does it know when you start moving away? Is that the beginning of a pan, or is that just you wobbling? But actually, I think the Pixel 5 does a really good job with this. There's no sort of jitter when it's panning, it's very smooth. I don't know how it's going to work out compressed on for YouTube obviously, but the raw footage looks really good. The mic seems pretty good. In fact, I've got a couple of video samples to demonstrate that. So this is actually the main rear-facing lens, just to get a sample of the microphone from when using the main camera. Same again, but using the wide-angle lens. Stabilisation is good, but it's not magical. It's not what you would see from the GoPro 9, for example. There's different levels and different modes of stabilisation, so I've got some samples here. First of all, with the stabilisation off, and I'm jogging along, and you can see it's quite a mess, it's quite a state. Then we move on to just regular video stabilisation, which is actually on by default. This is the sort of standard. And honestly, this is what I would recommend, because then you go to active stabilisation, and actually straight away, before I'm even moving much, you can see there's a bit of a shimmery effect on everything. And I don't particularly think when I'm moving it's that much better than the regular stabilisation. So I think actually the loss of video quality isn't made up for by the gain in stabilisation. There is a slow motion mode. I didn't really test that much, to be honest, but it is there should you wish, with different speeds. You can take video with the 2x as well, 1080p, and actually I would say that looks pretty good too. And as with the regular camera, low light is just solid, I would say. There is some, I'm not sure if you call it lens flare or refraction. I'm not sure when you get those bits of light bouncing around inside the lens, and so there is some of that, but I think probably no more than most phones would give. And there's a little noise, but not a lot. I think generally the images, they look really good. And a lot of people have commented how video has really, or Google has really upped their game when it comes to video on the Pixel, which I think you'd struggle to argue with. It does look really good. So all in all, the camera on the Pixel 5, it is really good. It is really good. At this price point, £600, especially if you got in early and you got the free headphones, I think you can still do that now, which you'd be able to sell on, let's say, even at a minimum, you sell them for £100, so the phone's going to cost you £500. It's such a good camera system for £500. I think you're going to struggle to find anything remotely similar. It'll be interesting when the iPhone 12 comes along, the Pro version probably, how will that match up to the Pixel? You would assume when you're paying that much that it's going to be better, but that will be interesting to see. So I've given my thoughts, but I've also tried to show you the results so you can make your own decisions. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, so please do. I read all of them and I'll reply if suitable. But for now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all again soon.